Do you know, I found Xena so exciting. I turned up and I was 21 and I was a total baby, and Michael Hurst was directing me, and I'd always been a huge fan of his, and I'd been to see and written reviews about his theatre productions when I was at drama school. And so the fact that when I auditioned, I didn't know that he was the director, and then I found out that he was, and I got my script and I had to go and get fitted for a wig because I had these long curls, and I just remember sitting in the chair while Jane O'Kane, who was the makeup artist, prepared these amazing ringlets and this beautiful hair for me, just feeling so overwhelmed and so caught up in the magic of it. And outside the window, people were carrying all kinds of styrofoam this and that, and walls and bricks and rocks and amazing tapestries, because it's kind of had a vaguely slave market style theme to it, and I played a slave girl, and I just really had one of those moments of delirious joy and excitement. And that probably typifies my experience as an actor in general, is when you just get caught up in that great orchestration of, you know, imagination. Fiona was a really interesting character for me because it's the first time I had to defend a character, because people really didn't like her. And she was brought into the show for the particular purpose of stirring things up and getting people worried about the Stevie and Alex relationship. And so she was there to push people's buttons. And I quite liked her. I thought she was quite damaged, and she really, really loved Alex, and she really wanted to be with him, and she went about it completely the wrong way and got herself into a really bad position. But I thought I had to say to people, look, inherently she's a really good person, she's just frightened, and she'll stop at nothing to try and protect this thing that she really cares about. But it was an interesting process, because you can't, I feel, you can't go into a role and go, I don't like this person. You've got to actually be on their side in order to breathe the life into them that they need. So anytime anyone ever saw me out and about and recognised me from that show, which was the first time in my life that really happened, and to be honest doesn't happen a lot, they go, oh, I hate your character, she's so awful and she's this, and I just be like, because I really didn't see her that way, but people thought she was ghastly, and I don't think I'm ever going to live it down. I loved Spin Doctors. It's actually still one of the highlights of my whole career. That was the first time I'd been part of a core cast in anything, so I was there at the very beginning. And it is where I started my relationship with James Griffin, who I've gone on to work with quite a lot and whom I just love, and also Tom Scott. And it was a really exciting time, and it was really challenging because the turnaround was so fast. We would turn up on a Sunday afternoon, pick up our scripts, go home, and we'd be on set at 6 a.m. the next morning, and it'd be on TV 2 nights later. So it was really fast paced, but it was just delightful, and everybody that I worked with on that show I still have a great regard for, and every time I see them I always feel incredibly glad. And Tony Holden was the producer and director of that, and he was tough on me and really told me off because I talk really fast. I still talk really fast. But yeah, he really put me through my paces in a way that I probably needed, and I just found that show so funny and so daft, and I love political satire, and I love politics actually. I'm really interested in it, and it was a great thing to be a part of, and it was relatively successful. It had quite a few seasons and some political specials that we did, election specials, and yeah, great fun. She was great fun to play. I don't think I'll ever play a character again that runs down Cuba Mall and ends up kneeling by the bucket fountain and doing some kind of weird reception to other voices that no one else can hear. She was pretty unusual, and interestingly, when we did the auditions for that, we had to, everybody that auditioned had to make up a dance. Whether it was someone auditioning to be a stripper or I played the choreographer, you had to actually choreograph and dance your own dance. I was so gobsmacked that I actually got that part, because all I did was turn on, I don't know, who was it? It was someone like Jill Scott, or I can't remember who it was, and just vaguely just looked embarrassed and shuffled around, and then got it and really couldn't believe it. It was a great show to work on. I had Craig Hall and Robbie Magasiva living next door to me, and Jodie Rimmer was living down the hall, and we all lived 5 minutes away from set, and I was on my own in Wellington, and I was 23, and I just thought it was brilliant. I don't quite know how to articulate it without sounding a little bit woo-woo about it, but I just got a really strong sense that it was something that would be really important for me to do. And I worked really, really hard on the audition and was quite terrified. And Stuart Mackenzie and Neil Partington were there at the recalls, and I hoped against hope that I would be allowed to do it because I was so intrigued by it. And then when I read the whole script, I found it incredibly challenging and confronting, but I found it so raw and so honest. And because so much of Miranda Harcourt's experiences of going around and performing a play in jail was present in the language and just the relationships, I found it so compelling, and I loved working on that film. It's something that I consider a really important period of time in my life as an actor. It taught me a lot. And being around Miranda and Stuart taught me a lot, and Tim Balm, who lived in the same apartment as me during that process. It was really challenging, and it was really raw, and it was really empowering story to tell. The year that we shot Power Rangers SPD was just brilliant. It was mad. I learned how to do amazing ninja fighting. I ran up walls and harnesses. I flew off them. I accidentally concussed people in the head by kicking them. I had these beautiful leopard spots spray painted on my cheeks every day. I had teeth stuck to my own teeth that were like canine incisors. I had these beautiful ears. I had these amazing green eyes, and I just got to go so far into the world of imagination that I really didn't want to come out. I just loved it. It was fantastic. I was quite surprised that I got that part, because at the recall, where Paul, who was the director, was there, I just thought I had stuffed it up so badly because I was so nervous, and I was all confused about whether I was wearing the right kind of... I had one of those moments as an actor where I went, I don't know what to do, and I don't really know why I got a recall, and I'm confused, and I felt all awkward in my body, and I didn't think I'd worn the right thing, and I was just so nervous. And I walked out and went, there's just no way that's going to happen. And then I got it. And I was just delighted because, you know, people like Joel Edgerton, fantastic actor, Les Hill, hilarious, Danny Cormack, who's just someone I admire hugely, Jodie Rimmer. We just had an amazing group of people to work with. I found it quite challenging because if I thought too much about the comedy, I'd lost it. And I had a couple of moments that really needed to be well marked, that were really funny moments. And I worried about those quite a lot before I went there. I don't think I slept a lot. I was quite anxious. I was also training for a half marathon at the time. And so I was out running and pounding the streets in the freezing cold all around Wellington and worrying about whether I was funny or not. So that was interesting. But yeah, great. And I really like that film. I think it's got some great stuff to say about male and female relationships and a very particular Tom point of view, which I quite like. I had such a great time shooting Go Girls. I shot it at the same time I shot Almighty Johnson's 3. So I had a period of sort of 4.5 months that was incredibly busy, where I didn't get a huge amount of sleep, but I had a huge amount of fun. And I think something that I really love about Go Girls is it's got the most irrepressible spirit. It's really funny and it's really smart, and the characters walk the line of being quite hilarious and quite tragic as well at times. I think everyone that works on that show, they're pros and they know how to shoot it and they know how to write it and they know how to get it looking fantastic. And every time I would watch it, I would just be so amazed at the way that they cut it together and splice things, and everything was happening and it's so fast and it's so alive. It was just, it gave you energy to work on it. It sort of infected you with its energy, which I loved. I loved it at the start because of the group of people that were brought together to make it. And then I have grown to love it because I've loved the journey that my character has gone on. It's completely daft. It's really clever. And when I think about James Griffin writing it, I like to imagine that he's got a room like Russell Crowe's character in Beautiful Mind, and it's just papers everywhere drifting across the walls and this kind of extraordinary map of his universe, which is just so out there and so on the edge, and there are no boundaries and no edges to his universe, and I really like that about the show. I like that anything can happen, and it does happen, and I like that it's just mad. It's mad to be on, and it's got a great energy. The show has brought me a lot of gifts, and not just those of friendship and creativity, but I think it's taught me a lot as an actor. And I feel I've grown a lot, and particularly in season 3 of Almighty Johnson's. I'm really proud of the work that everyone did there. There's some really beautiful stuff. So yeah, I'm very fond of it, and I'm very proud of it. And I'm not sure that, sometimes I'm not sure that it's a show that is necessarily received in the way it was intended, or maybe it hasn't quite hit the audience it needed to hit, or because it is so unusual, and I think because it is so unusual, I champion it so much because I love shows like that. I think they're clever.